What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Down Once More. Matt here, coming at you with the second episode for the week, as I released the recap of episode 7 of season 2 of House of the Dragon as a bonus standalone episode. That's out now if you've been keeping up with that. It's available on YouTube and all podcast platforms, just like every episode here. So go head over there, check that out if you're watching the series, get my initial thoughts on that when the episode dropped. The final episode is coming out this Sunday, August 4th. So make sure you stay tuned for that. This week, though, we're going to come at you with a few different things. I got some story time to tell you about fighting fires this past weekend. It's not quite as exciting as it sounds, or maybe it is. Stay tuned. That'll be one of the last things we talk about today. And it's July 31st, so we're coming at you with your August movie preview. What's coming to streaming, what's coming to theaters. Obviously not a list of everything, because that would take far too long and be far too boring, but some highlights that I wanted to call out that I'm excited about, and I think you should be too, or some things are just intriguing. And then a few other random things, a mini review of Deadpool and Wolverine. I saw that on opening night, and then that's it. So let's get into it. Just some random musical news to kick it off, because as you said, this is ultimately a musical podcast. They announced the last 5 years revival is coming to Broadway, starring Nick Jonas and Adrienne Warren. So I'm a big Last 5 Years fan. The movie especially, Jeremy Jordan and Anna Kendrick, two of my favorites, are fantastic in it. And so this Broadway revival, I don't know, I'm interested to see Nick Jonas in the role. He has a fantastic voice. I'm not familiar with Adrienne Warren, but I think The Last 5 Years is a very unique and intimate play because it essentially just has the two cast members and is telling the story of their life. I love the songs on it. Jason Robert Brown, I love what he did with the musical. It's a very unique concept, and I think more people should see it. So I'm excited about that coming back to Broadway. They also announced that they are turning A Knight's Tale, the Heath Ledger movie, into a musical, and that is premiering in Manchester next year in 2025. And then also the Lord of the Rings musical is at the Chicago Shakespeare Theater through September. So that's something else I'm intrigued by as a big Lord of the Rings fan. Having grown up in my high school days, that was my big nerd thing. It wasn't as much Star Wars, although there was a little bit. I was really into Lord of the Rings, read all the books. I had Aragorn's sword in there, Anduril, not Narsil. It was the shards of Narsil. Anduril was the sword that was reforged, people. Come on. So I had that on my wall like a real homeschooled nerd that I was. And so that musical I'm intrigued by. If life wasn't so crazy for me these next few months, I'd be making a trip up to Chicago. Might have to recruit Brad to go see that for us and report back on the podcast. We'll see if I can talk him into that. In other news, we're talking about streaming today. Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max announced their streaming joint service has launched. So I think plans start at $16.99 a month. So really we're just getting cable all the way back. We're trying to combine these streaming services. The Disney Plus bundle already exists, or whatever they call it, the Hulu bundle, the Disney Family bundle. That's Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. So basically this just swaps out ESPN for Max. If you're not a sports fan, don't have any interest in that, that's where it's at. The pricing is competitive. I think Max has a ton of great content. Disney Plus, hit or miss on what they have. All the classic Disney movies. If you have kids, I feel like Disney Plus is the streaming subscription to go with. And Hulu has a lot of TV content on it the day after. They're the best place for that, in my opinion. I feel like they're kind of lacking in originals. They've had a few, but a few big ones like Handmaid's Tale, but recently I haven't been seeing anything new that's kind of grabbed my eye. Besides The Bear, it's kind of the collaboration with FX though in Hulu, so which I still haven't watched season 3 of The Bear, I'm ashamed to admit. So let's get into the streaming previews now. Coming to Netflix, we'll do Netflix first. Not a ton of note. The first things that are coming out is on August 2nd, parts 1 and 2 of the Rebels Moon director's cut, Zack Snyder's movies, newest Netflix ones that The original versions of the movies just got kind of panned. I believe they were PG-13 too. These are the R-rated director's cut. They're coming out August 2nd, which is just kind of a ridiculous premise. Why, like, Zack Snyder had creative control of this movie in the first place. If just release your director's cut as your regular cut. We don't need to, we have all the Snyder's cut from the Justice League and everything like that. It's always his director cuts better of the Batman vs. Superman 2. That's what people were saying. But, and I could get it when you have the studio behind you hampering that. But with Netflix, he had complete creative control in this. He could have just released his director's cut. Like, they had the director's cut planned from the beginning to try to get more hype and stuff behind it. I think it's a little bit hacky and a ploy. Snyder fans, don't come at me. But I never watched the Rebels Moon movies before. I'd heard that they were pretty rough. But again, that's hearsay. I haven't watched them. I do plan on watching the director's cut, though, because I will say I do generally like the director's cut versions of his movies better. So I am interested to see what's going to come of that. So I will be checking those out. And then season 4 of The Umbrella Academy, the final season of The Umbrella Academy, premieres August 8th. The Umbrella Academy is one that I didn't read the graphic novel comic. It's a comic or graphic novel, pretty sure graphic novel, when it came out. But I started watching the Netflix series, and season 1 I thought was fantastic. Season 2 I felt like was a bit of a fall off, and then the show just got lost for me, and there were so many other things I was watching that I haven't watched season 3, and so it's been long enough at this point, kind of like Stranger Things for me. I watched season 1, loved it, watched season 2, and then there was such a large gap between the next seasons, it got lost in the shuffle of first world problems, just so many options, so many things to choose from, so many things vying for your attention that I just fell behind, and now it's been long enough. I feel like I need to rewatch the earlier seasons to kind of get what's going on. The one thing I will say, Netflix really does a really good, like, previously on, and you can see what's happened the previous seasons. But the Umbrella Academy, I know season 3 had mixed reviews. Season 2 did too. But I do think it was a fun series, and so I do want to get caught up on that eventually. And then a new interesting one is coming out August 29th on Netflix is Terminator Zero. It's the animated kind of anime Terminator series, and that premieres August 29th. So I'm intrigued by that. I was never like the biggest Terminator fan, but I enjoyed the movies, thought they were fun. And so at some point I will probably check out the series. But I've got so many things ahead of it. I got to finish the new season of Alex Rider on Freevee via Amazon. I need to finish season 2 of Reacher. I just finished this season of The Boys. I thought was really good, actually. I know it was getting hit or miss reviews out there, but I thought it was a really solid season. I'm excited for the final season when that comes out either next year or the following. And so I just have a long list of things I need to finish up. The Bear season 3. And so Terminator Zero's not going to crack that top of that list. And if we're being honest, I'll probably forget about it by the time I get around to it. I was talking about some Amazon Prime shows, so let's jump to Prime next. Coming to Prime, the big thing, August 1st is the one that I'm probably most intrigued about that's coming to Prime, and that's Batman Caped Crusader. The animated series, looks like it has a really cool style behind it, and I'm really intrigued. I always enjoy more Batman content. This was originally going to be on Max, if I remember right, and then they passed up on it. They're doing their own thing, focusing on their Batman world with Matt Reeves, and because we got the Penguin series coming out later this year. So it went over to Amazon Prime, so that comes out August 1st, and that premieres. Also coming out August 1st, they've been out for a while, but both 21 and 22 Jump Street are coming to Amazon Prime, and I feel like those are both just fantastic comedies with Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum, a lot of fun, and those, anytime they're on streaming, they catch my eye. They pop up on my suggested for you page. I always check them out. There's so many great clips and moments in those. Channing Tatum has fantastic comedic timing and is so good in these. And so those come out to Prime on August 1st. Musical-wise, on August 1st as well, both versions of Annie, the 1982 version and the 2014 version, are coming to Amazon Prime. And then to close out the month, on August 29th, Season 2 of The Rings of Power premieres. And The Rings of Power is something I had mixed feelings on when it aired. We'll see. I don't think we'll do full recaps of it on here. I'm not as into the Tolkien lore on that, and I don't want to get in all that dialogue around that show. But I thought season one, the Harfoot storyline is what I had the biggest problem with, because I just don't give a fuck about those characters at all. I felt like they were annoying as hell, and they were the worst part of that series. And I get at the end, you get how their storyline's kind of important, and all of the Lord of the Rings, you're following the hobbits, and this is their like ancient ancestors. But I didn't like any of the Harfoot characters. I didn't like their storyline. Every time they came on screen, I groaned. I didn't want it. I wanted them off my screen. And it looks like in the previews for season 2 that their storyline has been minimized some. So I am hoping that's the case. I am really excited for season 2. I thought the series as a whole, I liked some of the things they did with it. I thought it was very interesting. I enjoy being in that world more of Middle Earth. And I don't care that it's not exactly canon. Those I don't like put up on a pedestal, even though, like I said, I was a big Lord of the Rings fan. I read all the books, read The Hobbit, watched all the movies. The Hobbit movies I felt like were rough. They tried to do too much with it. But I was a big fan of it, but I can enjoy it for what it is, as its own separate thing. And it is a beautifully shot and absolute beautiful series to watch. So I'm excited for season 2. That premieres August 29th on Prime. We'll jump over to Max. Not a ton coming out to HBO that really caught my eye this month. The main thing is, like I said, August 4th, this Sunday, is the House of the Dragon season 2 finale. I feel like this season has been consistently good. There have been some slower moments, but it's been building to something epic that I think we're going to get in this conclusion. So I'm really excited about that, especially coming off this penultimate episode that we just had. Like I said, there's a playlist. I've done it on most of these episodes. I've done reviews, recaps of the show, but there's a playlist on YouTube for it if you want to head there and check out those and get caught up on my thoughts there. And then the show Industry season 3 premieres on August 11th. This is one that was on my radar, but I haven't gotten around to watching yet. It kind of is filling that gap that Succession has left. It's kind of that corporate drama and interest and intrigue going on there. And so it's something that, again, is on my list, but it's just got buried and lost in the shuffle that I've had other shows I've been prioritizing ahead of it. Those are really the only two things that really popped out at me and caught my attention coming to Max this month. Coming to Hulu, and there was nothing really of note to Disney Plus, and now that almost everything with Hulu and Disney Plus is combined, kind of lumped them together. But coming to Hulu on August 2nd is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the newest movie in the Planet of the Apes franchise. I watched it recently. I thought it was really good. It was different from The Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. I just did a rewatch of those recently, and I had picked up Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes on Vudu, and not realizing it was coming to Hulu so soon. And I watched that, and I wanted to watch those other ones. And I feel like the kind of build and that prologue to the world of Planet of the Apes that we got in that original trilogy, Rise, Dawn, and War, was fantastic. And this one, it was a different vibe, and it took me some getting used to, because it's the apes are talking like humans in it throughout, and the humans are mute, which is where people were going, obviously, in the original series, and kind of getting closer to that nod of the original movie, the Charlton Heston movie, Planet of the Apes. And we're getting closer to that world. And so there's talks that this is the start of the new trilogy, and this is in the same kind of timeline. It's generations after Caesar in that trilogy, but they do talk about Caesar and kind of his history and things there. And I thought Freya Allen was really good in this, and I thought it was a really interesting movie, and I'd recommend it. The new Planet of the Apes series, these past 4 movies have been great. I'd recommend all of them, especially Dawn and War are absolutely fantastic. Andy Serkis is doing some fantastic work, and in War for the Planet of the Apes, the origin of my Steve Zahn monkey meme that is my go-to on Instagram, because I'm a simple man. Also on Hulu, on August 27th, season 4 of Only Murders in the Building premieres. So Selena Gomez, Martin Short, Steve Martin, that series. I'm going to be completely honest. I have not watched a single episode of this series. I've heard great things. It's on my list. But again, there are so many things vying for attention. And then this podcast eats up a lot of my free time when I don't have stuff. So I am so behind on shows, and it just keeps getting bumped down the list. But eventually I want to watch it. And for those of you who are into it, season 4 premieres August 27th. On Peacock, Peacock has a few things to shout out this month. The Bike Riders. I talked about it a little bit on here. I saw it at another one of those mystery movie showings at my theater, and I thought it was really good. Austin Butler was fantastic in it. Tom Hardy was really good in it. I had talked then about Jodie Comer's accent being kind of distracting, but since then I've seen videos of the actual woman that this is based on, because it is based on a true story. And the woman that they did interviews with, Jodie Comer's accent is spot on. So I have to tip my cap to her and give her a shout out and apologize for criticizing her accent, because it is spot on to the actual person that it is based on. So good for her. That I thought it was a great kind of biker gang action movie and kind of drama, and just the story of how it started as a motorcycle club and a way to have family, and kind of devolved into gang violence and just kind of what that does to the people. And I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was a really intriguing story, and that comes out to Peacock on August 9th. And then also on Peacock August 9th is Renfield. I thought this was a fun movie from a few years back with Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage about Dracula's assistant, and Nicolas Cage plays Dracula. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's not going to win any awards. It's not like Oscar. It's not like peak cinema, but it was a lot of fun. So that's coming to Peacock. And then the first 8 movies of the Fast franchise are coming to Peacock on August 12th. So you can start watching through all of those. The sequel to Fast X, or Fast 10, however you want to say it, X sounds a lot more badass. I get that's supposed to be 10, but just like the iPhone X, I wanted to say that instead of the iPhone 10. That's no fun. You give me an X, I'm going to say X. Because that was originally like part 1, so I don't know if the sequel will be Fast X part 2, or if they'll go with Fast 11 or Fast... I can't think of a pun that would rhyme with 11 like they did with Fate of the Furious and Fast 5. I don't know what to go with 11. I can't think of a clever title there. But first 8 movies of that franchise coming to Peacock August 12th. Coming to theaters this month. One of the ones that I'm most excited about is Trap, the new M. Night movie. Just say M. Night. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. M. Night movie with Josh Hartnett, who from the trailers appears to be playing a serial killer who is at a Taylor Swift-like concert with his daughter and finds out the whole thing is an elaborate trap set up to catch him. There's going to be a twist in it, but this is the most intriguing M. Night movie I've seen in a while. I'm really excited to check this out. Not sure if I'll make it to see it in theaters, but I'm really excited about this. Looks really good. Also coming out August 2nd on a limited release is a movie that I wasn't tracking before, but this movie is called Kneecap. It's a musical movie in a way, and I'm just going to read the description of it. It says, rapping in their native Irish language, Kneecap fast become the unlikely figureheads of a civil rights movement to save their mother tongue, but the trio must first overcome police, paramilitaries, and politicians trying to silence their defiant sound, whilst their anarchic approach to life often makes them their own worst enemies. This movie stars Michael Fassbender in a role, and it looks crazy, but it looks like a lot of fun. So I'm excited about that. Like I said, that'll probably end up being a streaming one because it's having a limited release. My next 2 months are absolutely crazy, everything that I have going on. So we'll see how things going. Next week, I'm getting new windows installed everywhere. So we'll see. Next week's podcast might be from a different location. So stay tuned for that and make sure to check it out on YouTube. On August 9th, Borderlands is releasing. Based on the popular video game franchise. I love the video game series. It's a lot of fun. It does get annoying at parts just because the kind of over-the-top, clever humor and dialogue and jokes coming at you. A lot of them don't hit now that I've tried to do replays, and it can be more annoying than not. But man, growing up, I love this looter-shooter game. You just have so many different guns, weapons, the kind of cartoon, animated comic book style of the graphics, and I loved it. One of my favorite series growing up, a video game series to play. And this movie, just from when it was announced, it seems like it is just being set up for failure. The games are rated M. They're pretty intense. The movie, they're going PG-13. They're going for a more general audience. I get that. The only casting I feel like is really well done is Jack Black as Claptrap, the little annoying robot, because I love Jack Black and he's great, and I think he'll be great in that role. But they cast like Kevin Hart as the main badass soldier in it, Roland, and he's just a big strapping guy, and they cast Kevin Hart. They cast Jamie Lee Curtis as one of the other main characters, and Kate Blanchett as another one that just looks, I don't know, this looks like one of the worst cast movies that I have seen in a long time. We'll see what actually happens. I'll still probably watch it. Probably not going to be in theaters unless this just somehow gets overwhelmingly positive reviews. This will be a wait till it comes out on streaming, or at least rent when it comes out. August 16th, Alien Romulus, the next movie in the Alien franchise, is coming out. And this has Kaylee Spanning in it. And this looks fantastic. It looks like it's going back to the dark, like horror roots of the franchise, and I'm really excited for this. I'm hoping to check this out in theaters, give me that full surround sound on the big screen. I enjoy the Alien movies, I enjoy the Predator movies. They have been hit or miss, but man, when those series hit, they hit. So I'm excited for this. This one looks like a return to form for the series, and I'm pumped. That comes out August 16th. August 23rd is a thriller movie, kind of mystery thriller. It looks like Blink Twice. I've seen previews for. It looks like a kind of trippy premise, but I'm really intrigued by that as well. That comes out August 23rd. And then the remake of The Crow also comes out August 23rd. This one looks like they're going so far into the edgelord kind of aesthetic, and it looks like they're trying too hard. I never watched the original Crow. I'll say that. I know it is an iconic cult classic. It's the one that Brandon Lee died during filming of it. And so this remake just, it looks like it could be rough. I like Bill Skarsgård, but man, I don't know how I feel about this. That comes out August 23rd. So that does it for kind of what's coming to theaters and streaming this coming up month. Let's do the story time for the Deadpool and Wolverine review. And so I mentioned on my House of the Dragon review, voice a little congested, had a stupid amount of smoke inhalation this past weekend, so I was fighting fire. This past weekend, I went to my in-laws because it was my sister-in-law's birthday. I drove out there on Friday. Friday night, we're sitting at the kitchen table, and we're playing cards, having a beer, and the mother-in-law looks out the window and sees smoke. Now, we'll set the stage. They live by a lake out in our state, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like the closest town's about 15 miles away. And so it's kind of out in the country vibe. There's not a lot of houses there. They're spread out. It has been insanely hot, insanely dry, and insanely windy lately. So mother-in-law does smoke out the window. I think maybe it was just dust that was kicked up by the dirt road. We go open the window, clearly smell smoke. We start heading down closer to the smoke because it's not that far away. The road, it's probably 250 yards, something like that. We start heading down and call it in. Fire department says they already have calls. They're working to rally people because it's all volunteer fire department out there. We head up, we have someone pull in, say, the fire's between the road and that first driveway, the grass, it's going quick, it's in the tall grass. I've called it in. It must have been from someone flicking a cigarette out of their car because of where it's at. It's not like someone had a campfire that got out. The only thing would be if someone either intentionally set it or if they just threw out a cigarette out of their window and it was smoldering, that the wind just took it up and caught that grass because everything's so dry. So in-laws neighbors were out of town, but they're kind of watching the place. So we go up by the house and we get the hose out. We get buckets because we're waiting for the fire department to get there. But they have a ton of pine trees, pine needles on the ground. The neighbor does that kind of lines the house. And there is just so much tall grass and it is blowing and it is spreading so fast. We need to do something. Hose, not long enough, couldn't reach where the fire was. I'll throw some pictures in here on the YouTube, which don't really do it justice because a couple pictures at the beginning, and then we were fighting this fire nonstop. There were 4 of us, and we get buckets, and we're going, and we're just trying to keep it from getting to the tree line, from getting closer to the house. And we're doing this. We're running back and forth, and the smoke's getting bad. It is catching. It is taking off fast. We're all just inhaling. It's starting to cough. So had my shirt tied it around my face like a mask. We're hauling these 5-gallon buckets and just trying to get the edges and push it back some as much as we can. And then we're doing that for about 20 minutes before the fire department gets there. And I will say, once they got there, there ended up being about 14 fire trucks that came in from all these nearby counties. And once they got there, those volunteer fire department guys just busted ass, and they were able to keep it from spreading and to any of the houses. They said if it would have gotten to the tree line with all those needles and where it was, they would have gone up like that, and it would have been too hot. They probably wouldn't have been able to get to it. That would have got to the neighbor's garage and the house. Probably would have taken off further from that. So thankfully, we were able to hold it back until they got there, but it was not how I planned on spending my weekend. But I have to say, like, shout out to all firefighters everywhere, and especially the volunteer ones who just dedicate their time to that, because it is a lot of work. Obviously, they have more things, but man, just being there, the heat, the smoke, what's going on, and it can be scary how fast that takes off in nature. And this is Smokey the Bear shout out. Don't be a dipshit and throw your cigarette out in the grass. Put out your cigarettes. Just be responsible with fire. That's realistically, if we would not have noticed that and gone down there and gone to action in time, it would have gotten to the tree line. It would have taken out at least the neighbor's garage and house, if not kept spreading more to the in-laws' house and other neighbors there. It could have gotten out of control and been really bad. People don't realize how, especially in places where you're in a drought or there's a lot of tall grass or dry things that can just catch easily, it is so hard to put out and keep out. So be responsible. If you're smoking, anything like that, having a campfire, anything like that, think before you do shit. Be responsible. Take care of people. And look out for your neighbors. It all worked out. And so it was kind of cool to be a part of that. It was exhausting, and I was coughing and my lungs hurt for the next day or so. And then it's been like 3 days. And when I shower and wash my hair, I feel like it still like kicks up some residual smoke smell. But yeah, it was crazy. Not how I planned on spending my weekend, but everyone pitched in, got taken care of, and it could have been a lot worse. All right. Now, I'm going to give a spoiler-free review of Deadpool and Wolverine. It's been out less than a week, so I don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty with it. Maybe I'll do that. Once it comes out on streaming, I'll probably do a little more in-depth discussion. I'm going to go see it again tomorrow night. I'm recording this Monday night. I'm going to go see it again Tuesday night. That's our cheap movie night. Take the wife to it, because I thought, and maybe it was just in the moment, this was so much fun. Like, this may have edged out the first Deadpool for me, because I had such a great time at it. There's so many people online who are hating on it, saying it's pandering, but man, I thought it was fun to just turn off my brain and just have a great time at the movies. Yeah, not all the jokes hit. They had probably maybe 75%, 80% hit rate. That's to be expected. They're throwing them out a mile a minute. That's what Deadpool does. Yeah, there's cameos. Yeah, there's fan service moments that if you don't follow the comics or you haven't watched all the movies, you're not going to get, and it's not going to mean anything to you. There's especially one that if you didn't know all the kind of not behind the scenes, but kind of all the Hollywood stuff back and forth with it, it's not going to mean anything to you. So I fully expect that there's the things my wife will enjoy about it will be drastically different than the things that I enjoyed about it. But I had a big old grin on my face for about 90% of this movie. It was a lot of fun. There was a group of high schoolers that was just being loud as fuck during it and got kicked out about halfway through the movie. So that was entertaining. This is a minor spoiler to what happens in the opening credits of the movie. So it's happening in the first 5 minutes, and it's all over social media. It's all over Twitter right now. People are spoiling the shit out of this movie. It is insane. People need to stop being so uncool and not chill online. I'm seeing so many people are recording shit in the theaters and then putting it online. So many people are spoiling stuff. I'm having it happen again with the House of the Dragon, spoiling shit from the books. Fucking, like, I get the book exists, but the show's its own. I mean, come on, people. You don't need to do that. People just need to chill online. Let people enjoy stuff. Give people a chance to see things and enjoy it. But the opening credits of this are to Deadpool. Bye 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 by NSYNC is playing. Deadpool is doing the dance to it. He is just absolutely annihilating TVA members with some very special weapons that I won't reveal here because I don't want to spoil. Let you enjoy that. But it was great. I was laughing right from the beginning with that. Some of the cameos are better than others. There is one that I should have knew was coming, but when it happened, it was fantastic. The post-credit scene is worth staying for. It was maybe the hardest I laughed in the entire movie. It was great. I did feel like it had a little bit of a villain problem. Just didn't really develop the villain as much as it could have, really give him room to breathe. I felt like the villain had a lot of potential, and we didn't see that as much. But I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend it. It was a great time at the theaters. I saw it in 3D, and I felt like it was actually really good use of 3D. Now, it's not going to be on like the Avatar level on that, where they spend 10 years crafting it, making the movie, and making sure the 3D is perfect. But I thought there were some really good uses of it, and it did add to the experience and was a lot of fun. And in my opinion, I didn't get to complete my rewatch of the Deadpool movies, but from what I remember, my feeling after the second Deadpool movie, this was leaps and bounds above it. I thought it was fantastic. Hugh Jackman just steps right back into character as Wolverine and getting to give like a full Wolverine performance, I felt like, in the R-rated movie. And it was great. There is a fight scene, and this is kind of a spoiler, not really. You've seen clips of it in the teasers and trailers. There's a fight scene between Wolverine and Deadpool that takes place in like a minivan, and how that's shot and how they use that like kind of compact space and both of these mutants with healing factors. It was really cool to see, and I thought there was a lot of fun action in this, and I loved it. So that's my thoughts, my quick spoiler-free thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode. So coming in at a crisp half an hour. I had to double check and make sure my microphone wasn't muted again, because that happened to me last night when I recorded my House of the Dragon recap, and it was painful. And so it was a later night than I had anticipated. But that's going to do it for this week. Time frame on Brad and I's episode of doing a draft of opening music numbers. We need to figure out a time to record. Like I said, I'm to blame for a lot of this. My schedule has been crazy, and I've had stuff going on. So trying to fit it in with my schedule and him when he's got 2 kids and a whole bunch of other responsibilities. It's been tough. I know. I appreciate everyone's understanding, all you who watch, listen, subscribe, to kind of how unformulaic, unstructured is the word I was looking for. Unstructured that the podcast has been. Hopefully you're still having fun with it. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Giving me new ideas for things to do solo. Solo is kind of what we've been having to do, and just me talking here when I've listened stuff, that's great. If you have anything that you'd like to see on the podcast, drop it in the comments, shoot us a message over on Instagram. Let us know what you want to see. But thank you all. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Hopefully you had a fantastic July. Here's to a fantastic August. And don't forget to go down once more. Later.